Hi everyone, myself Prajwal from Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering. Today we are going to discuss about HTML table. HTML tables, how tables are used, basic table structure, the importance of headers, spanning rows and columns, cell padding and spacing, making tables accessible. How tables are used. HTML tables were created for instances when you need to add tabular materials. Data arranged into rows and columns to a web page, tables may be used to organize calendars, schedules, statistics, or other types of information. Note that data doesn't necessarily mean numbers. A table cell may contain any sort of information, including numbers, text elements, even images and multimedia objects. Minimal table structure. The minimal table structure consists of table element, TR, table row element, table header, which is TH element, table cell data, which is TD element. Menu item, chicken noodle soup, calories 120. This is how you can create a table, minimal table structure using the table elements. Minimal table structure. The minimal table structure consists of rows and columns. Tables are made up of rows that contain cells. Cells are the containers for content. Each cells contain contents. All of the table contents goes into cells that are arranged into rows. Cells contain either header information, titles for the columns such as calories, any title for the columns, or data, which may be any sort of content. Minimal table structure. Here are the elements that make up the table structure of the table. TR is table row, and the menu item TH is table header. Header, the content cell consists of the name of the header. Next. Shows the elements that identify the table, rows and cells. Cells are the heart of the table because that's where the actual content goes. The other elements just hold things together. What we don't see are column elements. The number of columns in our table is determined by the number of cells in each row. This is one of the things that make HTML tables potentially tricky. Rows are easy. If you want the table to have 3 rows, you will just use TR element, table row element. Rows are different. For a table with 4 columns, you need to make sure that every row has 4 TD or TH elements. The columns are amplified. Minimal table structure. Remember, all the content must go in the cells, that is within TD or TH elements. You can put any content in a cell, text, a graphic, even another table. Here is a basic example of how the table structure can be created. We use TD and TH elements. Table attributes. The table attributes are align, BG color, border, cell spacing, cell padding, call span, row span, and width. Align. To align table, that is left, right, and center. BG color. Change the color, background color, to use border, color spacing to create space between the cells. Cell padding to create space between content and border. Call span, row span. Width. To define the width of table, value can be defined in pixels or modulus. Table headers. The text marked up as headers is displayed differently from the other cells in the table, TD element. The difference how is not purely cosmetic. Table headers are important because they provide information or context about the cells in the row or column they precede. The TH element may be handled differently than TDs by alternative browsing devices. For example, screen readers may read the header aloud before each data cells. Note, don't avoid using TH elements because of the default rendering, bold and centers. Table headers. How can we differentiate between table headers and TD? Spanning cells. One fundamental feature of table structure is cell spanning, which is the stretching of a cell to cover several rows or columns. Spanning cells allow us to create complex table structures, but it has the side effect of making the markup a little more difficult to keep track of. You make a header or data cell span by adding the col span or row span attributes. Col span. Column span created with the col span attribute in the TD or TH element. Stretch a cell to the right to span over the subsequent columns. Row spans. Row spans created within the row span attribute work just like the column spans, but they cause the cell to span downward over several rows. Here is an example of how row span works. The row span, if row span is equals to 3, then the row span attribute cell span downwards over several rows. Spacing in and between cells. By default, cells are sized just large enough to fit their contents, but often you will want to add a little breathing room around tabular content. Cell padding is the space inside the cell, between the content and edge of the cells. Cell spacing, the area between cells, is a little more complicated. By default, table cell expand just enough to fit the contents. Cell padding is the space between the edge of the cell and its content. Cell spacing is the space between the cells. So the space in and between the cells are cell padding is the space between the edge of the cells and its contents. Cell spacing is the space between the cells. Here is a basic example of an HTML program of creation of table. Here we use row span and col span to create a table 1, 2, 3, 4. For the table content 1, we use row span by merging 2 rows into 1, and for the content 2, we merge column span by merging 2 columns. TD col span is equals to 2 for 2. Then for 1, TD row span is equals to 2. 3 and 4 are in their respective cells. Thank you.